Hello, friends, family, lovers, enemies. I am halfway, I think more than halfway through watching Bridgerton Season 2. This is a warning for spoilers for Bridgerton Season 2. This show it's really silly and also really stupid. I mean, I think right now my frustration is I'm watching the episode of the marriage, and she's just left, Edwina has just left Anthony at the altar. And I think the number one frustrating thing about this show, and a lot of TV shows, I guess, is that nobody talks to each other, nobody communicates to each other, not really. And it's all part of the plot that they're not communicating to each other, and it's just really frustrating to watch that sort of thing consistently be portrayed as something that is normal and okay to do. I don't know, whatever. But it is frustrating to watch because it's just no one's being honest with each other. And the more important thing is that no one's being honest with themselves. And not in the way the show presents to you a certain way in which the show has ideals. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the ideals of Bridgerton. Alright, let's talk about the ideals of Bridgerton. The show really wants you to know that a love match is the most important thing. Daphne and Mother Bridgerton are the main pushers of this ideal, but to some degree, everybody's you should find love, that's gonna fulfill you, and it's just really hell-bent on this idea. But the thing that's so frustrating about that and what this show represents as a whole is that the fantasy of Bridgerton really sterilizes so much of history, of class, of race, all for us to buy into this fantasy that true love will win the day. True love that is found in marriage, marriage to one person for the rest of your life. Alright, let's talk about why this is problematic. Somehow this world is both raceless and classless, at the same time showing us people of immense wealth, and people of actual different cultures, confirmed canon, different cultures, all coming together to keep this fantasy world going. It's just you really have to be blind. This is why a lot of shows, TV shows, especially Bridgerton, are not great. It's they're beautiful to look at and they're very spectacular, but the substance of them is nothing. These shows are sterile. They can't ever discuss the way the world actually is. They have to really put together this fantasy world for these things to come together. But I love fantasy, but you're asking the audience to be blind to so many different things: race, class, just the context of the time that people were in. So let's talk about the Bridgertons as a whole first, because they are this extremely rich family, and they're one of the wealthiest families in town. They have a lot of children, so a lot of marriages to arrange, and it's really impractical for them, the mother especially, and Daphne, to be pushing this like love match thing so hard, because am I wrong about this? Like, isn't Kate Sharma like a commoner technically? Like, did you see the royal family? Remember like when William married Kate in real life? Like, she was a commoner, everyone lost their shit, and she was white. Like, it's so crazy that like people are encouraging Anthony, like people whose vested interests in staying rich are like, yeah, Anthony, you should just marry a commoner, like it's about love. It's like, no, these people are rich. They would not allow their firstborn son to marry a commoner. Like, they would be like, bitch, you better keep this money in this family. Like, rich people don't get rich by acting like this. Like, it's a family business. And that's just like, I think that is such a hard pill to swallow watching this show, because it's like, it's pushing this narrative that like some people just have a lot of money and like they're just, you know, blessed, and like that's just them. It's like, no, people who have money like played the game, they played the system. Like, they're not just gonna like give their money out to anyone and everyone. Like, they're gonna keep it in the family. People are pushing Anthony to the degree, like, this is why I had to turn the show off, because I'm just like, y'all would not be this invested in Anthony's feelings. Like, he is the firstborn son. Like, he's already been, I love that term, a rake. I do love that show for this, but obviously that was a term before. But like, he is such a rake. Like, they should all just want him to get married to Edwina and know that he's gonna go fuck around, like, and do whatever he wants because he's the firstborn son. Like, it's really not realistic. And you know, I don't think necessarily TV shows should be realistic, but like, there is a line that you're asking the audience to like push, and it's just like, this is dumb. He would marry Edwina. Like, he literally would marry her and then just go and do whatever he wants. Let's talk about Eloise. Eloise is so annoying. The way that they write her is so annoying. I like the archetype of her character. Like, in theory, what her character is, like, tomboyish, kind of black sheep, like, free thinker. But, like, it's an insult. It's literally insulting, because everything she says is like very pop feminism. Like, it's almost like everything she says is the way Fox News presents feminism. Like, totally unnuanced, completely just a reactive like experience, haughty. Like, Eloise has this moment where she goes to like a salon. It's like 1800s DSA meeting, and she's like watching all these people, or well, we didn't really stay at the salon very long because the show can't do that, and I'll talk about why. But like, it's like all these people are coming up and talking, like giving arguments about why like women need rights, and like that's really all they showed. And it's like, this rich woman just walked in with a maid in front of all these working class people, and she's just like, wow, I'm just so amazed to be here and like be an intellectual and just like be part of the people. And it's like, you're part of the reason why all these people are here, because your family is so damn rich. Like, they probably all work for everything your family's invested in. They're not getting paid any money, and like, the men all have to work and the women have to be at home taking care of the children because they don't have birth control. And it's like, that's why women are oppressed, is because like, there's just so many more deeper reasons. But Eloise is over here just having a great time, but the show can't even address any of that because it's so sterile. Like, it can't really talk about class, because if you're really going to talk about class, then you can't really be on the side of the Bridgertons. Like, you can't love them as main characters, because they represent actually the reason why the world is so fucked up, like so much wealth hoarding, and like we're just seeing all these rich people have so much wealth, and we're supposed to be like loving their main characters and not questioning any of this, especially in the climate that we are all in. And I don't know, I mean, it's just frustrating. Like, it's frustrating to see how many narratives this show really is trying to push. Like, this show really wants you to believe in the concept of a love match, to the degree that it's like, you can be happy in marriage. Like, it's a thing that everyone can attain. Happy in marriage for the rest of your life. I want to make another note about Anthony based on the writing of this show. There was like a couple flashbacks that he had about how his father died and how his mother went into labor, and they were making this huge deal about how he was the Lord, and like she basically didn't have agency anymore over herself. And they are trying to make this thing happen with Anthony where it's like he wants to be an honorable man like his father, and so to that end it makes sense why he is a bit caught up about, you know, wanting to honor Edwina and her choices. The thing is that they really have established him as a rake. So at the end of the day, when the world is in his favor, like, he's trying to be an honorable man, but the terms in which they're telling us honor exists are very contextual to our modern day era. Here's another little thing I wanted to talk about. Now, I haven't finished the show, but so far I have noticed 2 Hermes statues in the show that have been featured like quite prominently, like framing wise. I think one was like right before a party, and there was a fountain with Hermes, and he had the wand, I believe, the double snake wand. I can't remember what that's called. And he was like in the middle of the fountain, and the camera sort of zoomed with him in the center and then onto the palace. And then the second time that I saw Hermes was at the school of one of the brothers. I don't know that man's name. He's the brother that's going to art school, and he walks in on this woman drawing, and she's drawing a statue of Hermes. Now, I can't say that I know exactly what this means or what the intention of the writers of the show mean by this, but it does, because Hermes is often associated with magic, like the use of magic, because he carries that wand. It almost feels like a deception in a way. That the ideals and morals of this show are being put on us like a shroud, like something that is a distraction or an illusion. When magic is present, combined with people's intentions, I feel that that's when you really do have to start paying attention to what it is you're actually taking in, what illusions you're taking in. TV is a very powerful thing for this. I think that this is one of the main reasons why we really do and should talk about TV, what's on TV and what most people are watching, is because a lot of times magic is being done to our brains to convince us of certain realities. And the reality of Bridgerton is that you should get married and you should find the person that you truly love and marry that person. Combined with being super wealthy and rich, like, and being successful, it kind of feels like it's not obviously a model for how people actually acted in 1803, but how people should be acting currently right now. this is my conspiracy brain, is just because marriage and building wealth through marriage is really important for how our economy functions. There's a lot of reasons for that, but, you know, some of them are to maintain, in a sense, control over, like, women's bodies, to keep producing the working economy, keep control of money, through, you know, establishing these nuclear families, and selling you the false idea that you can find one person to be happy with for the rest of your life, and you will never be interested in anyone else ever again once you meet that one person. And then y'all will be able to run a successful family business together, because in Bridgerton, and also I think in the real world, money is about wealth hoarding. It's about maintaining wealth and passing wealth on. I feel like this is why Bridgerton is kind of dangerous in a sense, because it's selling you so many false ideas. It's selling you the idea that, like, rich people just exist for no reason. There are just some people who are rich and some people who aren't, and, like, the problems in this world are very trivial. Like, they're very minute. It's just like, wow, people think women are stupid. That's why we have to fight for women's rights. It's like, people want to control their legacy and keep their wealth in the family. They need to control women and the children women have, so that, like, their wealth isn't dissolved. And with a rich family like the Bridgertons, pushing the love match so hard, it's like, that's gonna dissolve your wealth. And it's just an unrealistic depiction of how rich people actually function, what their function is, why they are the way they are, like, why they have all these rituals that they do. All right, I think now I want to talk about the biggest reason why I believe people love watching Bridgerton. Because it does present us with, I think, a way that people want to live. And that's not just about being rich, and having, like, tons of clothes and expensive things. The world of Bridgerton is about the social season. I really, truly believe people would not feel like they peaked in high school if we gave modern society, as it is here in America, if we gave people a chance to have a social scene after high school and after college. This is why people love Euphoria and high school shows so much, is because we really, as a society, do not have a social scene quite like what we got in high school. In high school, you have a stage, a place to promenade every day, in front of your friends, to wear whatever you want and be seen with certain people or not seen, or we have access to some degree to, like, different activities. Like, there are the art kids and there are the band kids and there are different social cliques. There are events that everyone goes to, football games, dances, school pep rallies, there's student government, whatever. There are things that students can engage themselves in that creates this social scene that everybody wants to be seen on the stage of the social scene. It's not really a selfish thing. People just want to be able to connect and fall in love and, like, be around their friends and be seen. Once high school is over, and to some degree once college is over, like, adults don't really have that. Like, a lot of adults I know don't really have that unless you're, like, in music. Like, you are you are in a band, or like, you know, or you're an artist or something, but even then, like, it's still harder to like get these social circles together. And then on top of that, like with lockdown, people are really itching to just hang out and go to parties and like socialize and be seen and fall in love. Like, people socialize because they want to fall in love, not only romantically, but, you know, friendship wise. They want to find a family, like a place to be accepted. And so Bridgerton is intriguing because it offers us that. Like, it offers examples of mostly adults taking place in a social scene. All right, here's another note. A lot of what these characters think is love is actually lust. And it's worrying that the show doesn't have any older characters that address this concept. Like, the show really wants us to believe that Daphne is just so successful and so happy in her marriage to this super sexy, super rich guy, and things are just going so great and perfect. And it's like, y'all have been married for like a year or two, and most of what you felt for each other is less because you lived in a sexually repressed society. So it's like, when Anthony is gonna abandon Edwina Edwina abandoned him, but like, he's kind of all for it because he wants to be with Kate. It's like, listen, dude, you might actually be in love with her, but you really don't know her at all enough to know that yet, and neither does she about you. So what y'all really want is just lust with each other. And it's just worrying that this show sells us like love at first sight means you should marry that person for the rest of your life, when really, like, these characters are just sexually repressed. I mean, we all know that about that society. That's why we're not really like that anymore. Like, sexually liberated, like, it's not it's just not the culture anymore. And it was a really damaging culture to pretend like people don't lust after one another, to pretend like people's lust towards one another damages them like for the rest of their lives. I don't really know how to conclude this because it's just a lot of small things that I have, ideas that I have about the show. I don't know, I kind of, in some ways, philosophically feel against complaining about TV shows, because at some point it's just like, why are we all watching these anyway if we're just going to complain about them the whole time? I don't know, I might finish Bridgerton. Like, I've been kind of sick lately and I just can't do much, and so it's like, I guess sometimes it's just easier to put something on. But right now, I guess I do at least need a break, because I just wasn't finding much joy in watching it, and I want to like it. I love period pieces. You know, I really do think, like, Pride and Prejudice 2005 or whatever, Keira Knightley, like, I think that was one of the best period pieces, Regency era, ever. Because the writing, you know, it's Jane Austen, but the writing of that book is obviously in context of the time that it was written in. So it's like, the fantasy is easier to swallow because there's so many other realistic things actually happening to these women and, like, the station that they have in life. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Bridgerton, as disjointed as they are. I wish the show was better. I think in a future subject I want to dive in more about how sterile TV shows actually are as compared to, like, books. or comics. I do believe that TV shows can be on that level. TV shows and movies can be on that level where they're really making you think, like making you consider ideas that are not easy and are more raw and real. But as it is now, there's just so much television being produced that there's just so much of it is not going to have that substance to it. All right. Thank you all for listening and have a great night.